The original brief kind of came about from, I think, the need, obviously, we picked up from Jason and Madge, obviously the business needing to kind of move from its current location. But quite quickly, we need to kind of engage with, at a high level, with Andrew and Bob to understand really the vision for what it is they were trying to achieve with the new building. This was all about not making a facsimile of what you had before and actually then striving to do something completely different. The vision was really to kind of break the mould in terms of, office environments and challenge everything in a way. Once we understand the functionality of the different departments and the needs for collaborative working, flexible working, quiet spaces, etc., then you start to build up a dialogue of all the elements that are likely to be required. So it was a big shift from what was historically about desks and meeting rooms into an environment which is much more about agile and flexible working and collaborative working. And ultimately the vision was to create quite a big hub for the building, and we're sitting in it now, which is obviously central to the space, which is the restaurant. And this is about a facility for everybody, a valued space, valuing their staff and inspiring them to be able to come together. That kind of ethos then spreads throughout the rest of the building. So the access to green areas, the access to terraces, the access to quiet areas and reflective spaces is all part of that kind of well-being. And I think the ability to kind of create a really nice kind of landscape externally, which you have almost 360 views through to, is quite key. I think having that sort of kind of inside-out feeling. We challenged everything in terms of how people work, the facilities they work with, the kind of support elements that are actually embedded in this scheme. So whether it be gyms, outdoor areas. So, and I think looking at the younger generation that are coming through in workspace now, in working areas now, is that there is a kind of aspiration to have kind of more of the kind of, dare I say, kind of university style to kind of working life. So they're expected, or they will expect, to be able to work flexibly, work anywhere. And what the idea here is that this is a big magnet, and we draw people in and they can work wherever they want. And I think that very much appeals to a kind of younger and hopefully an older generation as well. What we were conscious of right at the beginning as we work as a team on this, this isn't our interior, this is the interior that works with the building. Building works with the landscaping. What we wanted to do was then kind of use that to build a kind of a sense of excitement through the different spaces. So the whole interior is laid out in such a way that it unveils as opposed to you understand it all in one go. So each area, each vista is slightly different, hence the irregular way the furniture and the elements are set out. There's no you can't predict what you're going to see, and I think that was quite key. In terms of trying to understand the design philosophy from materials and colour, again, is an interesting take on it. Whereas a lot of spaces will then think about big punches of colour, whether they be on walls or carpets, actually we reversed it. So a lot of what you see now is what we call kind of pops of colour that happen on pieces of furniture or elements that stand out, as opposed to saturating the space with colours. Up here is going to be probably the most exciting bit of the whole thing in terms of what you create and what you feel, and the sense of enormity and the way the colours will all come together and materials, I think, will be dramatic. I think the ground floor and showroom is kind of a departure where we've actually used fairly minimal colour, because I think the spaces are more about kind of exhibition area. So it's kind of a neutral palette, which is exciting in its volume, but it's all about what you put in it, as opposed to us being too kind of shouty about it. As an employee here, I think this would be stunning, to have that sort of kind of freedom and choice, but also that sense of being valued. And I think this is quite key, that it comes across in terms of the IM family kind of group that kind of looks after its employees in a valued way. I think the real value is the coming together of the team early on, right from the onset. So as interiors meets architects and meets landscape designers and meets project managers and your kind of sponsors, etc., is quite critical. And I think that's worked amazingly well. There's been quite a lot of banter, there's been quite a lot of pushing, but I think, at the end of the day, we can all hold our heads up and think, wow, we take, pride and, in terms of what we've collectively delivered.